Morning everyone, welcome back to Compound Interesting. This is Emil, and today's video we're going to be talking about why Square, one of Jack Dorsey's companies, why they bought $50 million worth of Bitcoin recently. So I've seen a lot of Bitcoin YouTube channels talking about this, but I haven't seen many stock market channels or any really talking about this, and I'm kind of a mixture of both. Well, I'm more focused on the stock market, but I think this needs to be spread around the stock market community, so that's why I'm talking about this today. So we're going to be discussing why they bought Bitcoin, if this means that you should go out and buy Bitcoin or go out and buy Square stock, and the long-term results of this move. So with all that said, please like the video, subscribe, and let's get cracking straight into the video. Okay, so if you don't know who Jack Dorsey is, he's the CEO of Twitter and Square, so he founded both of those companies. So a real visionary, excellent CEO in my opinion, and a really good guy. And if you didn't know, Jack Dorsey is actually a serious Bitcoiner. So he's been buying 10 grand worth of Bitcoin every week for, I don't know, years. So he has a lot of Bitcoin and he's very interested in Bitcoin. And we can see that from his own Twitter bio, where he has Bitcoin, the hashtag Bitcoin in his Twitter bio, and that's all that's in there. So also on Twitter, if you hashtag Bitcoin, you get that little Bitcoin symbol as well. So Jack Dorsey is obviously very focused on Bitcoin and interested in Bitcoin, and he's often tweeting about Bitcoin and everything. So that's one of the first reasons why he invested some of Square's spare capital into Bitcoin. So Square are the second company that are publicly traded to go out and buy Bitcoin. Well, some others kind of already had it, but they're the first ones to publicly go out and buy it. So Microstrategy is a small company that's been around for like 20 years, has about $1 billion on their cash, on their balance sheet in cash, and they were like, okay, the money's getting inflated so fast because of the pandemic, so we need to put some of these assets into an inflationary hedge. So they went out and put half their assets into Bitcoin directly. So that was a really, really big deal in the Bitcoin community, the first public company to ever do this. So they put they bought $500 million worth of Bitcoin. So an enormous amount, and their market cap is like in the 2 billion or something really small. So like a really large proportion of that company is just Bitcoin now. So once this happened, a lot of people started calling out Jack Dorsey, being like, oh, I thought you were a Bitcoiner. When is every company going to start buying Bitcoin? So this MicroStrategy was obviously, their CEO is a serious Bitcoiner, like looked into it a lot and is always tweeting about it. He went on the Pompliano podcast talking about Bitcoin, so he's a serious Bitcoiner. So people started calling out Dorsey, like, oh, Dorsey, when are you going to buy Bitcoin? And Dorsey recently was like, yeah, fair enough, that makes sense. So because he's not the first company to do it, he can point to someone else and say to his board, look, someone else has done it successfully, I think we should too. And he was getting called out so much by the likes of Max Kaiser. So he's getting called out a lot on Twitter, and turns out 5 days later, which is about the time it would probably have taken for Square to purchase that much Bitcoin, it comes out that Square had bought 50 million. They released the news that they had bought $50 million worth of Bitcoin. So this is bigger news than MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin, because Square is a really large market cap company, a really well-known company, and they've gone out and bought Bitcoin. So they're still absolutely an early adopter when it comes to public companies who are investing in, alternative assets. They're definitely an extreme early investor, but maybe it's just opening some other companies' minds to the idea and the possibility of using an inflationary hedge because of all the money printing for companies who have large amounts of cash on their balance sheet. They might start thinking about it or even looking at the idea of it, but still absolutely an early adopter. And I don't think this is going to send a tidal wave of companies going out and buying Bitcoin in the near term. It's going to be a long process. There's a long process from early adopter to everyone going out and doing it. We also have to take into an account that $50 million is a very small proportion of Square's available capital. So it's 1% of their total assets. So their total assets are 5 billion, but it equates to 2.5% of their spare cash. So their cash and cash equivalents were 2.2 billion. So 50 million of 2.2 billion is 2.5%. So a pretty small allocation of their cash going towards Bitcoin, but not completely insignificant either. A lot of people would recommend getting into Bitcoin, just putting 1 to 5% of your net worth into Bitcoin as an inflationary hedge. And Square are kind of doing this. But I think, unlike the way Microstrategy are investing in Bitcoin because they have lots of cash on their balance sheet and they're scared of that cash getting inflated away, Square are kind of doing this for slightly different reasons. And these reasons include the fact that Square has been offering Bitcoin on the Cash App since 2018, and they released a statement about them investing in Bitcoin. So their statement says, they invested in Bitcoin because they believe crypto to be an instrument of economic empowerment and provides a way for the world to participate in a global monetary system which aligns with Square's missions or Square's goals. So that makes a lot of sense. If you follow Dorsey on Twitter, you'll see he's always campaigning for economic empowerment for all the world, and he's a bit of a social justice warrior, so he's always trying to help black people and help disadvantaged people come up and have as much opportunity and success as everyone else in the world. So that's one of the reasons he's aligned with Bitcoin. It's a level playing field for everyone. There's no central bank inflating away the money of the poor people to then bail out banks, the big rich banks and everything like that. So there's a lot of left-wing ideologies that come from Bitcoin, or I think that some fantastic benefits that would come around from Bitcoin becoming more of a powerful currency or a powerful asset, because it takes power away from central banks and governments and gives the power to basically everyone who uses the Bitcoin blockchain. Square also have Square Crypto, which is a place where companies can go and get access to open source blockchain technology and kind of develop their ideas or something like that anyway. So, but just to see that Square have a Twitter account or a section of their company that's called Square Crypto. So obviously there was that interest in cryptocurrency long before Square made the purchase into Bitcoin. By the way, if you want my breakdown on Square, I'll link a couple of videos up there. But anyway, let's move on. Square's Cash App has been offering Bitcoin, like you can buy Bitcoin on Cash App for the last couple of years, and that's actually their fastest growing revenue segment. So I'll put up a picture, but you can see Bitcoin revenue has been exploding for the last 2 years since they offered this service. Now this revenue is pretty low margin, so they're not really making any money off it, but they're getting more customers and they're delighting their customers, helping their customers have access to things like Bitcoin and stocks. Just makes their customers happier to stay on their platform and happier to leave their money on their platform, which is the way Square can then make money from transactions and everything. Similarly, merchants who are using Square's point of sale systems can accept money in Bitcoin, and if I'm a customer going in to use my cash card, I can use my Bitcoin, which will be automatically converted into dollars or whatever, and then in any shop. So automatically I can pay with Bitcoin anywhere I want, which is a really nice feature as well. So a couple of moonshots here. I've talked about this before, but I think Square is in the perfect position if cryptocurrencies really take over, or there's some sort of paradigm shift where people start actually going out and using cryptocurrencies to buy their coffees, which was the dream of Bitcoin a long time ago, but is ruled out of being the dream now because transaction prices are too high. But perhaps Square could be that intermediatory between people and merchants who want to transact using Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency. We can all do it through the Cash App. And because Square has been involved in cryptocurrency for the longest and has the most experience with it, they could be that intermediatory between merchants and customers. Another result from this transaction of $50 million of Bitcoin is the fact that previous Square shareholders have now been exposed to Bitcoin, the idea of Bitcoin, and vice versa. A lot of Bitcoiners now get exposed to the idea of Square stock. So it's kind of a win-win, and both Square and Bitcoin had a nice significant jump from this news, which was surprising. So about a few percentage points for each. So there's new buyers coming into the market, but it's probably people who are already invested in Square or already invested in Bitcoin or invested in both. just adding more new fresh money into both of those platforms. So I think Square are in a fantastic position if Bitcoin and cryptocurrency start taking over the world, like I believe they definitely could. Not only would they get an enormous amount of new customers onto the Cash App if Bitcoin starts taking off again, because people want a place where they can buy Bitcoin and store it easily, which is the Cash App is perfect for. But also because they have $50 million or $50 million worth of Bitcoin, they have 4,700 Bitcoin, 4,709 Bitcoin. Yeah, if that does a 10x, then I'll have $500 million, or maybe even $1 billion if it 20x's in the next couple of years and over the next few cycles of Bitcoin. Furthermore, perhaps they'll even offer this Bitcoin. They'll be able to directly sell this Bitcoin to their customers when, I always say when, but if Bitcoin starts taking over again and they think, okay, Bitcoin's maybe starting to get to the end of the bubble, they can start selling some of their Bitcoin to buyers who want it, rather than just being the intermediary between the buyers and sellers like they are right now. But maybe not. This is just a complete speculation. I want to leave you with a couple of quotes from Jack Dorsey himself. So here we can see that more important than the actual purchase of Bitcoin by Square, more important according to Jack is how they did it. So they released a complete statement on exactly how they purchased that much Bitcoin over the last few days, because it's not easy to go out into a spot market and buy an enormous sum of Bitcoin. You can definitely fluctuate the price. Like if I want to buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin, like you can't go out and just buy that much all in one go. And if you buy too much in one go, that's going to affect the price. So you're going to have to buy more at a higher price then. So what you want to do is buy small amounts over the course of a few days, well, depending on how much you're actually buying. But look, so he says, more important is how we did it so others can do the same. So he wants to be the guiding light or the example for other companies to do the same in the future. So there might be a few more early adopters over the next year, but while Bitcoin is still quite not an asset that's not in the spotlight right now, I don't think there's going to be a lot of adopters until at least a couple of years away. So don't be expecting hundreds of companies going out and following Square's footsteps straight away. It's going to take some time, like I said before. And like I also mentioned, Jack is a Bitcoin maximalist, which means he doesn't really believe in altcoins. All he really believes in is Bitcoin, which I can kind of see the argument for. Like Bitcoin is king, absolutely, but I do see some merit for altcoins as well, that there's a lot of utility there, but Bitcoin is definitely king. And if you're invested in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin should be definitely your largest investment, without a shadow of a doubt. So when Jack put up this tweet about Square purchasing all this Bitcoin, someone was like, let's make altcoins great again. And Jack says, nah. So that's all I wanted to say for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe for more videos like this. I love talking about the stock market and cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin. So if you like that kind of thing, make sure to subscribe. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Just a quick one today, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Thank you very much. Cheers.